Hi everybody, Leafy Concern here, doing another video from Madison, Wisconsin. Today I want to talk about this book by Wendell Berry, Saying and Doings and an Eastward Look. It's on this Nomun press, and the title's right here on the spine. It's got a nice kind of off-centered quality to it. On the back you just have a little bit of copy. This gray is kind of silvery, it's slightly silvery, which isn't really coming through too well, but there's a slight silveryness to this. And then there's this Ralph Eugene Meteor took the cover photograph, and there's an acknowledgement right inside that Christopher Meatyard authorized the use of that photograph. And the photograph is really cool. It shows, I think, Wendell Berry himself standing next to this statue and sort of talking to it and kind of admiring it and smiling at it like this. And him smiling at it like this is really like kind of the vibe of the whole book, of taking the taking the things that are overheard and said by people who don't realize that what they say is very useful as poetry, and putting it in a book, in a great book. The story of this book is that there was, first of all, I wanted to say that Nomun is the part of a sundial that casts a shadow. Anyway, this book contains poems which first appeared in An Eastward Look, and then Sayings and Doings published by this publisher. And so it has really two books in it. And they're really nice little, the structure of this book is wonderful. So not only is it like this great short read, but each little section is so wonderfully self-contained. Like, for instance, just this one-page section, this haiku, is gonna occupy you for a long time. And I am stopping back here in Madison on this music tour that I'm doing. I'm on a tour. I'm playing bass in a band. And I read this while we were driving through Nebraska and Iowa, and it was really perfect, a read, because it is concerned with what people, what a rural population of kind of elderly, wise people would say. And it was just really appropriate to the landscape, this book. And it's perfect for a road read. And I want to kind of make more videos about what makes a good road read, but it's really perfect because it has little perfect sections that you can read before your next stop at a gas station or whatever. And then the whole thing itself is really rereadable because the poetry is really kind of lasting. And there's this wonderful frontispiece to Sayings and Doings that's worth a lot of contemplation and really sets the scene well. And then there's this first section, Remembering Old Times, which really sets the tone and is a little bit darker, although you start to see, on this fighting story, that, the humor is sort of coming out. And then you get this kind of wonderful, kind of perplexing, enigmatic story about Uncle Rad Milton and the pup. I'm still kind of not really sure what happens at the end of it, and my friend, who I showed the book to, also said, hey, I'm not really sure what happens at the end of it, who peed. And then Sayings and Doings is a laugh out loud, kind of extremely touching, laugh out loud, cry wetly, cry tears kind of section, full of amazing little bits, like somebody's horse dies and they say, somebody's horse falls in a creek and breaks its neck, and they say, well, she ain't never done that before. And the line breaks, and these are all really cool. These two cats was a-fighting, and the bottom cat climbed on the top cat's back, and the bottom cat climbed on the top cat's back, and the bottom cat climbed on the top cat's back, and finally they went up clean out of sight. The hare was a-falling for 3 days. That's they're all so different, each of these little bits. So this is really wonderful. And then after that, you've got this other one, this An Eastward Look, which is more, inspired by, more of a kind of a Japanese kind of style of poetry. They've got these haiku, of which I think the first is the heaviest hitting so far. the other two sections are really wonderful and really invite lengthy contemplation. And they make it so you rush through sayings and doings, and then you get to an eastward look and you're like, holy crap, like let me take a long, eastward look at these eastward look poems. And you have to kind of take a break and take a look. I think I am going to take this back on the road when we hit the road here in a couple of minutes, because I want to be able to hand this to people who want something to read. I really want some other people in my band to read it. And this one's kind of tough to find. I looked online and it's like, there's always kind of a copy of it floating around, I think, but I don't think they're very cheap. I think you got to pay like $20 for one of these or something like that. I found this for like $1 at a St. Vinny's. It was just a great St. Vinny's find. I'd always wanted to read Wendell Berry, and I'd had friends. I have a friend, Ben, who really loves Wendell Berry, not just the poems, but the essays as well. And I think this is a really good introduction. I also bought a book in Nebraska, which is April Twilights, that Willa Cather book of poems, that I really hope will be like a great introduction to Willa Cather. Another writer like Wendell Berry, who I know is really good, but I just need like a good introduction to. What was I saying? Anyway, yeah, I'd always wanted to read this, and it was just I kept it around, and I finally brought it on this tour, and it was a great first read, and I highly recommend it to anyone. And I'm wondering if anyone who has like a Wendell Berry selected poems or collected poems can tell me if this book is in one of those, because maybe people can just get a collected, and then this will be in there, which you should be able to find, pretty commonly. So yeah, if you're into poems that are great and unpretentious, but ones that, like, as I was saying about this book, you can get pretentious with. They are kind of endless. It's people like talking poetry that they don't really know can be kind of endless and endlessly, kind of snacked upon. If you're a fan of that, definitely read this book. And, hopefully, so I'll give you information about whatever thing I read next. And, oh, there's the van.